So, Stan, would you like to share just some initial thoughts on what's happening in the market?
Well, I think, Peter, we can clearly say that we have some very good quality buyers, many of whom have bought practices from us before, who are looking to expand their businesses.
Is this a common thing where we have a buyer who not only buys one practice, but buys multiple practices?
What we find is that people who buy a practice, lawyers who buy a practice initially, normally find it's a very positive outcome for them. As we've said before in previous videos, it's a way of immediately increasing your revenue. And once they integrate the new purchase into their systems, they can make the previously sustainable practice that was sustainable on its own, but much more profitable with the effective savings they're giving its operations. So it's a positive thing for them. They bed that down, and I'm finding buyers are then coming back to us in 6 months, 12 months, saying, what have you got available? So that really is the crux of our challenge at the moment. We have many buyers who are looking for practices that metropolitan based, CBD based. Yes, we do have buyers in the region. They do take a little longer to sell in the region because of the tyranny of distance, I suppose, although that's been overcome somewhat with technology advances in the last few years. However, we have many buyers who are interested in those CBD metropolitan practices to buy. So I suppose my call out is for any solicitor who's thinking this might be a good time to transition and get away from all the administrative work that they're facing every day and transition into a new company. So sell their practice to one of these buyers, keep working at a rate that really suits you, but find that balance. It's really interesting. We have a lot of lawyers, well, not a lot, let's not exaggerate, but we do have lawyers who are stuck, and they talk to us about what next. How can they get out of the rut of running their own practice and all the demands that are on them with that? And at the same time, they have family who are saying to them, look, it's time you eased off a bit. Can we go on a holiday? Can we all go together? Can we do something that your work currently and for the last decades has stopped you from doing? And that's just getting that balance in your life. So yes, we have lots of buyers out there, Peter, lots of buyers.
So we not only have buyers who are returning buyers, we have lots of new buyers as well, don't we? New prospects, new inquiries.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What sort of practice would you recommend a new buyer who's never bought a practice before?
Well, I would recommend a practice that is selling, where the vendor, the principal who's selling the practice, would like to stay on and help in transition. So for a new buyer, I think it's important that if they've never run a practice before, to have that safety net, that cushion, that support of the previous buyer being there, working at their own pace. It might be, as we've said before, it might be 4 afternoons or 4 mornings a week or 2 days a week or 5 days a week, whatever they want. But for them to stay around and introduce the clients, get the new buyer accustomed to the process, to the way that this practice has been operating for decades.
Would you recommend a new buyer, new prospect who hasn't bought a practice before, would you recommend that they buy a small practice, a medium practice, or a large practice?
Well, I think a large practice is fairly obviously a big chunk to, really take control of and feel confident with. There are lots of medium to small practices that are out there, I think, that are suitable, that are maybe sole traders with 1 or 2 solicitors assisting. And I would say they're ideal targets for a purchase and a succession. Yeah.
So how do you see the state of the market, let's say in demand and supply terms? And how have you been going in terms of selling practices these last few months?
I think we're doing really well. We're selling quite a few practices. This year we've exceeded last year's results and really exceeded our target for this year already. And we're talking, it's July, okay? So there is demand out there. We need is more practices to sell. Let's be blunt. It's obvious. We need more practices to sell. So if a solicitor has ever thought, how am I going to get out of this? How do I maintain my interest, my focus, my purpose, but rid myself of all this other stuff that I don't want to deal with? Now's the time.
And of course, to build in holidays and time off and flexible days.
Look, we keep talking about it. The solution is obvious, right? Yes, it is possible to sell your practice. So please, for those solicitors who have doubted that, who've questioned whether anyone would buy a practice, we're saying yes, they do, and they are, and we're exceeding last year's results, the previous year's results. We are on the up with the sales of practices.
And there's a personal dimension to this as well, isn't there? It's not uncommon that, one of the key drivers of selling a practice is not necessarily the solicitor principal, but other family members, the spouse, other people encouraging a change, a shift like this. Why do you think what's all that about, Stan?
Look, Peter, I think that's pretty obvious. I mentioned family before. Look, let's be very open with this, that often we have a solicitor whose wife or husband or partner is putting pressure on them to change their life. And the solicitors are so busy opening matters and dealing with those matters and going in every day and not having a moment to think about that, not having a moment to just give themselves to that thought, the possibility of moving on. So they need to just be encouraged to make a decision. And the easiest way is to contact us and let us guide them through achieving what their family, what their partners really want for them.
Well, Stan, so we've given a market update and much, much more, a lot to think about, and that's very valuable information. So thank you very much.
No worries, Peter. Thank you.